What is up, guys, and welcome back to another episode. Today we're back to work on the third Gen Tacoma, and today starts the suspension lift. In order to give this truck a little height, we're going to go with a suspension lift, which will give it a smoother ride as it compares to lifting blocks. And specifically, we'll be installing Icon RXT rear leaf packs, Bilstein 5125 shock absorbers, Wheeler's U-bolt flip kit, and Timbren Bumpstops. So without further ado, let's go ahead and show you the steps in order to give this truck a little height. Okay, first thing I'm doing is measuring from the ground up to the passenger top of the fender, and I'm about 3 foot 1/8 approximately. And I'm going to try a measurement from the center of the hub to the top of the fender, so we'll see what that measurement is. Okay, so from the center of the hub to the top of the fender, I'm about 21 3/4. Let's go measure the passenger side. And then from the ground up to the top of the fender on the passenger side, I'm about 3 foot 1/4 inch. And from passenger side, center of hub, to the top of the fender, just right around 22 inches. Okay, next step of the process, go ahead and block off your front tires so the truck doesn't roll forwards or backwards. And let's go ahead and raise up the rear end, put the rear frame rails on jack stands, and we'll go ahead and pull off the rear wheels. Okay, so the first thing, I'm gonna go ahead and take off the shock absorber. You got this top nut right here. Go ahead and undo that. And then you got this bolt that goes through the bottom axle. Go ahead and remove that. Shock absorber should then come right off. And for the shock absorber disassembly, we have a 14mm on top and a 17mm on the bottom. And then go ahead and take the bolts for the brake lines and undo those. There's one right here and one right there. And then once we have those removed, we're going to take the floor jack. I'm already support on jack stands. So we're going to take the floor jack, go up underneath the axle here, and we're going to support the axle. And then we can go ahead and undo these nuts right here, which holds on the factory U-bolts. So we'll take these 4 nuts out. This bracket will then drop down, and then we're basically left with the leaf pack assembly itself. So over here on the back side, so we need to go ahead and take this bolt out and take this bolt out. And this bracket right here will transfer onto the new Icon RXT leaf packs. And then right over here on the front side, go ahead and remove this bolt right here. And then we should have everything disassembled. So let's go ahead and take things apart. Okay, after about 45 minutes, the shock absorber, the rear leaf packs, and the bump stop is finally removed. So as you can see here, this is the OEM leaf packs. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 leaves in here. Taking a look at the Icon here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 leaves on this one. And there's the optional 8th leaf if you want to do an add leaf. But we're going to leave this as is because this is stage 1, and that'll give us a 1.87 inch lift. And then here we've got the OEM Hitachi shock absorbers. And comparing it to new Bilstein 5125s, you can see the thickness of the body, a little bit more thicker than the OEM Hitachis. And these are supposed to have a little bit of extended travel versus the 5100s. And this right here is our factory U-bolts bump stop and the retainer against the axle. We're replacing it with these extended U-bolts, the Timbren Bumpstops, along with these plates right here. And this right here is basically a flip kit. So instead of the stock bolts facing down with the nuts, basically it's going to be a smoother look. And that's how the bottom's going to look, and the bolts and nuts go up top right here. Okay, so now that we got the rear leaf pack out, we want to go ahead and take this bracket, take this bolt out when you transfer it over to new Icon RXT packs right there. Okay, successfully transferred over the rear bracket on leaf packs right here. Now, one thing to note on these RXT leaf packs, there's no indication of what the front is. So after doing a lot of investigation online with installs, I've noticed that the numbers are on the back side and these double brackets on the front side, as well as this double steel bracket right here. So just the words of the wise, the two double brackets and the beefed up coil right there on that bushing, that's the front side. And where this 158505 model number is printed, that's towards the back side right there. So now that the leaf pack is prepared to go back in the truck with the rear bracket in place, I left the nut and bolt a little bit loose for a little bit of flex play. So we'll tighten everything up once this truck is together. So now we need to carefully put the leaf pack back into the truck. And as you can see, I got the axle supported with the floor jack. Never let that axle hang down. Obviously you can see that brake line. It's a little bit stressed right now, but I've got the axle as low as it can go because we need to get clearance once this new leaf pack is bolted in position. So once this leaf pack is bolted in, hopefully we should be at the finish line, put the U-bolts back into place and the shock absorber, and this side will be done. We can move on to the next side. Okay guys, got the leaf pack fully bolted into the frame on the back and the front side. Now let me go ahead and show you a trick of how I lined up this hole right here along with the frame. For whatever reason, I couldn't get this hole quite lined up, and I want to strip this bolt out. So I got a tie strap hooked up to my axle right there, hooked it up to the frame, tightened this thing up, and it basically took the axle and moved it the 1/4 inch I needed forward. I tried to push the jack, it wouldn't budge, but the tie strap did the trick. I was able to line this thing up perfectly, and the bolt went right through. So very happy with that. And I got the nut and washer on the back side. Left everything loose so far. We'll torque things down as we get this thing together. Now the next thing we need to install is the new bump stop and the U-bolts. So remember, the U-bolts are going to go on the bottom right here, and they're going to come upwards with the nuts on the top. So let's go ahead and get those things installed, and then we'll put the shock absorber on, and then we can button things up with the torque specs. Okay, the driver's side rear lift is finally complete. Ran into 2 pitfalls. I'll get into those details later. Anyhow, got the Bilstein 5125 shock absorbers, got the Icon RXT Leafpacks in here, and got the Wheeler's off-road flip kit along with the Timbren Bumpstop. Everything is looking good. We just need to torque down this bolt to spec and these 2 bolts to spec right here. But I'm gonna wait until I get the wheels and tires and put this thing on the ground. Before I torque those 3 bolts to spec, I'm gonna go ahead and put the wheel and tire back in position, put this thing on the ground, and that way this thing will be under load, and then we'll torque it down to spec. Okay, moving on the passenger side, this should be identical process as the driver's side. And as you can see, our parts have dwindled down to 50%. So I'll just go over a brief overview of what I did on the driver's side. So we're gonna go ahead and remove the shock absorber, take this top nut off, go ahead and remove the lower shock absorber nut and bolt. Go ahead and remove the U-bolts right here with the bottom nuts on the bottom right there. There's 4 of those. Take the factory bump stop off. And then once the shock absorber and the U-bolts are off, we can go ahead and proceed and remove the rear leaf packs. Loosen this bolt up here. Take this nut and bolt out. Take this 12mm right here and this 12mm, loosen up the brake cable, and then we can go ahead and remove this nut and bolt right here. Okay, let's go ahead and remove the rear passenger side suspension. I'm gonna go ahead and speed up the film here, and then when I start reassembling things, I'll go ahead and give you some details of some of the pitfalls I ran into on the driver's side, and let's go from there. Okay, let me go ahead and show you guys how to put together the Timbren Bumpstops. Here's all the components. You got the rubber bump stop, you got this bottom plate, and you got the bottom mounting plate right here. And you got some bolts, regular washer, lock washer, same thing on the other side. And then you got this Allen head screw with this flange lock bolt. So this is the bottom side. You want to flip this over, and you can see there's already a washer down inside there. So in order to mount this onto the plate, you want to go ahead and put this plate just like so on top of the base, and then you want to go ahead, put the rubber bump stop on top of this, and then you want to take the Allen head screw, flip this over, try to line everything up. But we also need to make sure that this Allen head bolt will go through the metal washer inside the rubber piece. So let me go ahead and try and put this thing together. Put the camera down here. Okay, the Timbren bump stop is now fully assembled. Use a 9/16 deep socket, Allen wrench to hold the bottom screw, and then some needle nose pliers in order to help the bolt get inside the cavity of that bump stop. Now we can go ahead and take our assembled Timbren bump stop assembly and mount this to the top of the leaf packs. Okay, the easiest method in order to mount this Timbren bump stop to the top plate right here is to go ahead and put the washer and the bolt right through the holes. And then basically you want to hold this up just a little bit so you can see where the threads are at on this top plate right here. Otherwise you're going to be searching for a little bit. Kind of get the bolt started a little bit. Okay, so that's now started. The front one. All right, let's go ahead and thread the front bolt. Okay, it's now started. Just hand tighten these things. And make sure you got the regular washer and the lock washer in place. Let's go ahead and take our 14mm and tighten this up. And there we have it. Timbren bump stop is all mounted to the top plate, ready to go. Okay, this is the Bilstein 5125 shock absorber, and this is the main hurdle I had to overcome on the installation on the driver's side. So as you can see, it comes with these sleeves right here, and these sleeves will mount right into this rubber area right here. So the sleeve is a little bit too long for the stock, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you on the truck here. So I'm gonna take this sleeve right here, and this right here, in this area right here, is where the bottom shock absorber mounts to. And as you can see, I take this metal sleeve, it will not fit in that slot right there. So basically you need to take a micrometer, measure the thickness, and we're going to compare it to the stock. So here's our OEM shock right here, and this is the bottom shock mount. I don't know if you can see this on camera, but if I hold this side by side, it's a little tough to see, but it's about 1/8 of an inch off from the stock. Okay, so what we're going to have to do is measure the thickness of this metal mount on the bottom side of the stock one and compare it to what we have here, and we're gonna have to grind away the sleeve right here. Once the sleeve is cut to the specification, we can then drive it into the bottom of the shock absorber right here. And basically you just position this metal sleeve and push it in there. You can use a vise, that's what I did. Let's go ahead and take some measurements here, grind this away, and then we can drive it into the new shock absorber. All right, some more detailed information on this lower shock mount. Got this caliper right here, got it all set for the OEM right there. Looks like it's about 1.25 inches according to this gauge. And then we're gonna test it on this metal sleeve that came with the new shock. Not sure if you can quite see it, but it's off by about 1/8 of an inch. So we need to grind away 1/8 of an inch of this metal sleeve right here. So let's go ahead and mark this with a Sharpie. We'll grind it, insert it into the new shock. We might have to cut away some rubber and we should be good to go. All right, I went ahead and took this on the vise, grinded away with the bench grinder after I marked it with a piece of tape. Now we'll go ahead and see if the sleeve fits in the bottom of the shock absorber mount. And there it is. Fits pretty nice. Now we can go ahead and put this in the bottom shock absorber, trim some rubber away. Alrighty guys, that about wraps up today's video of installing the rear components for suspension lift. We were successful getting the Icon RXT Leafpacks, Bilstein 5125 shock absorbers, Timbren Bumpstops, and the Wheeler's U-bolt flip kit installed. Things are looking pretty good back here, and next up we need to address the front suspension lift. I started with the rear as I'd rather have a rake truck for a week rather than a squad one, so I won't get as many bad looks from other drivers seeing the low popularity of squad trucks out there. And hope y'all can tune in as we finish up the truck lift up front and get those bigger wheels and tires set into place. And if you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching and have a fantastic day.